In this lesson, we'll take a look at adding some more specialized materials. So we've looked at some of the basic materials, but there are other materials that will give you more specific looks. Let's say we wanted to add sort of a car paint type of a shader to this. And car paint has sort of an underlying color, and then it has kind of metal flakes, and then it has a clear coat over the top that gives it that specularity and that shiny look. Okay, and you can sort of set that up on your own, but if you want to just add it, here we have the ability to do that. So let's go into our Hypershade, and we're going to this time go to Metal Ray Materials, and right down in the middle you'll see this car paint phenomena right in here. So we'll go ahead and bring that up, and you can see it gives us a little bit of a preview of that. So with the default settings, let's go ahead and start to add this to some of our objects. So we'll add it to the wings. Okay, let's add it to the main fuselage and also the scoops on the side. Let's also add it to the engines. Okay, and then let's add it to the little piece up here, coming across there, and let's also add it maybe to this piece. Okay, now right now it just looks sort of red, but let's take a quick render and see what this looks like. So go ahead and get an IPR render going. And let me actually turn it a little bit. And so we can kind of get a better idea of what it looks like. Now, once you get into the rendering, materials and rendering often go hand in hand with together, because really the materials are reacting to the light, and so if you don't have your final lighting in there, the materials aren't going to look exactly right. So we're kind of just getting a preview. You'll be able to tweak your materials later, but for now you can kind of see that this is really shiny. We've got that shiny glossy coat over the top, and then we have the color underneath. And if we move in closer and do a render, you can kind of start to see the little flakes in there. And so if we open up our car paint, you can see that we have a number of options here. We have a base color, we have a lit color, okay, and then we have options for specularity, and then also the flakes, the little metal flakes underneath, and then for the actual reflection. Okay, so we're not going to go through all of these options, but I do want to just show you how you can change some of the basic attributes of this and how of some of the other interesting materials that we can create. So the base color here is going to be pretty much just the basic color. Okay, let's go ahead and change the lit color, and let's change it to something like green. So you can see where that light is sort of hitting it on those highlights. You can see that we're seeing that now lit color. So you can create some interesting effects there. Maybe we can get into something like a purple. You can get some really cool looking stuff going on. So on the base color, I'm going to go ahead and change this base color just a little bit. So I'm going to just put in some numbers here, and I want to use the same red that I had before. So we'll just add that as the new base color. For the lit color, let's go ahead and choose something. We'll take some of this red out. Take it down to maybe 170 or so. Let's go ahead and just take all the green out of it. Okay, and then let's take this blue to maybe half of what we had. So maybe 55, 56. Something like that. And you can see the reflection of the platform on there. Okay, we can also come down here for our on our flakes. We can change the density and the scale. So if we change the flake scale to 0.5, we make those flakes really big. You can kind of see those here. Okay, so we can take those down. We can also take the flake density up if we want to, pack those flakes closer together, and it's a little bit harder to see further out, but you can modify that, and you can also change the color of the flakes as well. Okay, and we can modify our specularity in here. And that's actually the weight. We can take our color down a little bit, move out here on our object here, and take a look at that. So there are a number of options that you can go in and actually modify. Okay, it's getting a little bit hard to see, so I'm actually going to go into the View Camera Attribute Editor, and I'm just going to go into the environment. And on the background color, I'm just going to change this really quickly. It's to kind of a light blue, gray kind of a color. Okay, just so we can kind of see things a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit closer to our, it's going to be our final where we have it kind of out in the sky. All right. So that is a kind of a car paint, but we can also do kind of a chrome looking shader. So to do that, let's go ahead and move in on something like the engine here. So for that, let's go into our Hypershade, and let's go to our Metal Ray materials, and this time we want to create a DGS material, Diffuse Glossy Specular. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the diffuse, glossy, and specular to this rim, and then we can go ahead and render that and see what the difference is there. So there you can see that it's made it nice and shiny and reflective, reflecting the environment. And you can go in here and modify. We only have really 3 main settings: the diffuse. So let's go ahead and take that diffuse down, and then I'm going to turn the glossy up a little bit. Okay, and then let's go ahead and re-render this. I'll save this and let's render a new one. It's going to go in and render that up. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference there, taking that diffuse down and increasing the glossiness. So we can start to add that sort of a chrome type of an effect to some of the different pieces that we have here. So if you wanted to maybe add it to the pieces on the front, you could do that. If you wanted to add it to this piece on top temporarily, we could do that as well. So maybe you just render that up real quick and see what that looks like. So you can see the reflection and the shininess on that. Reflection and the shininess, and that's actually reflecting the lights off of the platform. So we'll have to modify, we'll go in and modify that as we go. All right, if you take a look here under our Metal Ray materials, there are a number of different kinds of materials that you can use. If you're working with something like glass, the dielectric is a good material. You've got metallic paint. You've got a number of different options here in your Metal Ray materials, and we have a lot of training on Metal Ray and the Metal Ray materials that you're able to use. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested in getting into the Metal Ray materials and the Metal Ray nodes, we have a whole reference library that you can access, and then we also have training on different recipes that you can create using these materials. Okay, so we're just kind of really scratching the surface slightly here on some of these materials that are available, but you do have some preset options that you can add. You don't have to build everything from scratch. And again, as I said, if you have a specific idea for something that you're trying to create, just do a search on the site and you'll probably find something from one of our courses that will help you kind of achieve the look that you're going for when you're going through your process of adding materials. Okay, so there are those specialized materials that we can add. One of the things that we haven't really touched on is bump. So bump is really interesting, and it's going to really be able to help us to add a lot of detail to our meshes, or to our materials. So let's talk a little bit about bump maps in the next lesson.